We are what? We are who? We are what? Vibrant. We are who? 50 plus. Hi, welcome to Gray Lives on the Rise. I am your host, Professor Jamila Franklin, and we are coming to you from Oyende Enterprises, being sponsored by Jamila Sense, which is our product line of aromatherapy products that helps heal the mind, body, and soul. And we are bringing to you Alamaj's rebirthing program, as well as Jamila Sense and a host of wonderful programs that will help heal your body, heal your soul, and heal your mind. 50 plus people, we are here to stay. Gray Lives on the Rise. We are what? We are who? We are vibrant, and we are here to stay. Join us for our wonderful episodes. Thank you, and continue to look for our episodes weekly, being brought to you again from Oyende Enterprises and Jamila Sense. See you soon. Greetings, everyone. Welcome again to Gray Lives on the Rise. I am your host, Professor Jamila Franklin. It is so good to be with you again on this wonderful Sunday or whatever day you're watching us. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You are part of the beloved audience, and we so appreciate you. We have a very special guest today, Mr. Virgilio Baker, and he has an amazing background that he's going to share with you. But before we get to Mr. Baker, we're going to give you some background information about Gray Lives on the Rise. As I said, I am Professor Jamila Franklin. I'm the host and creator of Gray Lives on the Rise. And you know, this came about 2 years ago. I was just walking. I love walking and exercising. So I was walking, and all of a sudden, this download came from Spirit, God, Yahweh, Jehovah, whatever name you call that energy. And it said, there's nothing out there that speaks to your demographic. I got to thinking about it. I said, wow. And it was referencing the 50 plus generation. I said, it's true. The only two things that I could think of were Medicare and AARP. And I'm vegan, so I don't have health issues. And it's not to say that people who are vegan don't have health issues. I am one that's just has had the good fortune of not having that in my life at this stage. And so I said, well, Medicare doesn't really appeal to me. And AARP, the image that people have is that you see these older people sitting around playing checkers to chess with nothing else to do and looking tired and retired all over again. So I said, that didn't appeal to me. So the information was like, okay, come up with a name, come up with a movement, a name, a store where you can sell your merchandise that promotes this ideology, and a podcast. So the name I came up with, at first I thought Gray Lives Matter. I said, nah, that's overused. Then Gray Lives on the Rise came to me. I said, yeah, I like that. Your hair does not have to be gray. You don't even have to have hair. It's a consciousness. It's for people who are 50 plus, and we're on the upswing. So we are rising. I said, yeah, I like that. And then the next thing was like, we need to start speaking about ourselves in a very positive way. We're not old. We're not senile. We're not seniors. We're not elderly. We are vibrant. We are alive. We are golden. We're mature. And we're full of energy. So I said, yeah, let's start referring to ourselves in that way. And the next thing was like, you need to get a store. You need to have some merchandise that people can relate to. So when they see it, they're like, oh, I know about that. Great Lives on the Rise. Yeah, that's a powerful movement because we are a movement. So that's the reason why we have our store. We have things like my wonderful t-shirt, Great Lives on the Rise. We have hoodies. We have purses, canvas bags, floor mats. You name it, we have it. So you have to go visit our store to purchase some of our items. And the last thing was the podcast. And I desired to have a podcast that speaks to people who are 50 plus and who are living their best lives and who have experienced some isms, ageism, all kinds of ism, not being able to find employment. And so I started talking to people, and globally, this was the same issue. I've had guest speakers from Australia, from the Netherlands, from Canada, from New Zealand, from South Africa, Haiti, Costa Rica, the Philippines. And we've done very, very well in terms of the different people that have been on our show. And so what I wanted to do was to have people understand and know that we are vibrant and we aren't going anywhere. We are not going anywhere. And so I wanted to make sure that we felt good about ourselves and that we projected that to everyone else, because people can dismiss you and they can gaslight you. That has happened to me. And I'm not one to be dismissed or gaslit. But I had a young lady who tried to do it several times. She's no longer a part of my circle. So, but that does happen. So with the podcast, we have people talking about issues that are relevant to them. And a lot of us are empty nesters. So therefore, people are talking about issues that are not the same as when you're in your 20s, your 30s, and your 40s. Our lives are very, very different, because some people paid off their mortgages. They have the ability to travel. And the irony of it is that the people who discriminate against us are in their 40s, 30s, and 20s in the workplace, but their bosses, the people who own the companies, are 50 plus. Go figure. I said, So my whole philosophy is that we don't have to beg to be at anyone's table. All we have to do is mobilize, support each other, and buy from each other. And this group, the baby boomers and the millennials, anyone that's 50 plus, we are the largest demographic, and we have the most money, disposable income. So for people to discriminate, it's just senseless. But rather than get into a long, protracted argument about that, I just decided we can set up our own platform, support each other, and take it from there. So now the company, I'm a certified aromatherapist, a college professor of psychology. I have my own counseling practice. I've had it for over 30 years. I'm a Reiki master. And I do a lot of different things. So an award-winning published author and some other things. So you can go on my website to find out more about Professor Jamila Franklin. It's not about me. It is about our guest today, Virgilio, and what he has to share with you. So the last thing is my company that is sponsoring it, because we have some overhead. So I have several companies, but Jamila Sense is the one that's sponsoring it. And that's my aromatherapy company. And it is amazing. I always have to try to position this. It is so wonderful. What it is that it is an aromatherapy product that gets rid of stress, anxiety, depression, hyperactivity within children, sinus congestion, sinus headaches, and migraine headaches. You see how transparent it is? All you do is put a few drops in your hand, rub your hands together, breathe in. You're floating up to euphoria. And you put the rest on your arms. And flies and mosquitoes won't come near you in the summer because they hate it. But it's all natural. I created it myself. All of my products I create, and they are therapeutic grade, which means they get into the body and help the body heal itself quickly. You don't take it by mouth. You put it in the palms of your hands, and it works that way. So to get in touch with me, my parent company is Oyinde Enterprises. That's spelled Oyinde Enterprises, ENTERPRISES.com. Again, that's Oyinde Enterprises. and it's Professor Jamila Franklin. When you go on our website, you will see Gray Lives on the Rise. You will see my other companies, but Gray Lives on the Rise is my baby, and this is the one that we're talking about today. So thank you very much. So now that I've done the infomercial, we have Mr. Virgilio Baker. And let me tell you a little bit about Virgilio. Virgilio began as an art student at L.W. Scott High School in Toledo, Ohio. At 17, he joined the Navy and served as a naval photographer aboard the USS America CV66 for 4 years. After the naval service, he briefly attended Old Dominion University. In 1986, he returned to Toledo. Driven by his passion for visual arts and advertising, he took a job in radio, of all things, and teamed and learned the business of media at Midwestern Broadcasting. Learning from the best in the industry, he incorporated his life and professional experiences into Millennium Media Group of America, LLC, from photography to selling radio advertising and to creating visual art and graphic design. Bringing it all together to have businesses grow. Isn't that amazing? Very, very multi-talented. Virgilio's latest venture, Infuse Network, is a streaming network on Roku. The network currently airs 7 channels, which include Infuse TV, the Indie Network, N2 Sports, FGN, which stands for Fashion Glamour Network, VFT, which stands for Viral Feed TV, and Be Real TV. Infuse Network can be added to your Roku television or device by going to Add App on your television or Roku stick. Without further ado, I'm going to bring on Mr. Baker. Greetings, Virgilio. How are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing today?
I am doing well, extremely well. You have such an impressive background, so let's just jump in. You started, according
Yeah,
to your
and
bio, at the age of 17, but I know some
well, it
people.
was really 15. I was going to Scott High School,
Okay.
and I was running track, and my one of my friends, he was a photographer. He was the school photographer, and I was just running track, and I wanted to kind of look at his camera, so I asked to borrow his camera for a minute. Kind of looked at it, and then I just fell in love with photography. But I've always been an art major. I studied under a couple, real good teachers like Maxie Glover. He was a world renowned sculptor, and then Ernie Jones, right? He's kind of a legend here in Toledo. Studied under them, and then you know, finding photography. I guess you know how God kind of steers you
Yeah.
to what you're supposed to be doing.
No.
And that was my junior year. So my senior year, I became a school photographer. Well, I played sports, but I also, on the side was doing photography. And then I ended up going to the Navy after high school. Ended up on the USS America, and then I had to work my way down to the photo lab and become a naval photographer. So,
Wow. Okay. Well, that's very interesting. So what you did is you learned by experience without having to go to a photography school. So you, yeah,
yeah,
pretty.
the Navy was my college. That
Mm.
was to me, that was my college. I learned hands on from not just taking pictures, of going in, and that's when we had film, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going in and taking the film, developing the film, and doing the printing, black and white and color. So and then learning really how to shoot like a more like a photojournalist. You know, we
Oh.
had, we had like 20 photographers on our ship, and,
Mm-hmm.
and I would follow the most experienced photographer around and just kind of
Mm-hmm.
learn from them. Um, and at the time, I was the only black photographer on my ship for a while. Of
Mm-hmm.
5,000 people, I was on an aircraft carrier. So the USS
Wow.
America, the aircraft carrier, or was an aircraft carrier. So did that. Then when I got out, I really thought that I was going to be working at a newspaper. You know, that's what I thought. I had a really good dynamic portfolio. I had stuff that nobody's seen. Being on an aircraft carrier, flight deck, and all that stuff. Like when the movie Top Gun came out, it was like that's the kind of stuff that I seen. I was around aircrafts and on a flight deck. So I
Mm-hmm.
ended up trying to get a job at our local newspaper. It was the first thing I did when I came home, and I was told that I couldn't get a job because I wasn't in the union.
Mm.
So how do you get in the union? You have to get hired. You know, yeah,
Vicious circle. Yeah.
yeah, you have to get hired. So um, I didn't let that stop me or deter me. I just decided, well, I can always take pictures and I can always make money taking pictures. I really wanted to be in marketing and advertising. I wanted to see um, my work. Um, I wanted to see my work, newspapers, magazines, billboards, all that kind of stuff. Like that's what I wanted to see my work. Um, so ironically, a job came up for a sales position at a local radio station. It was WVOI, and that didn't even last long. That was 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It was 2 weeks because WVOI changed its format, okay, and the owner decided to, you know, start from scratch. Um, but my supervisor at WVOI told me about another radio station that was coming into the market, which was Magic 1470. And he said, well, go over there and interview with them. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Magic 1470 and um, WVOI was like night and day. What I mean, night and day, WVOI was like a shack of a place. In fact, it was a shack,
Uh,
right?
mm-hmm.
And then Magic 1470 was like corporate. It was
Oh.
really, yeah, it was corporate. And the guy that interviewed me, his name was Bob Stryker. His grandfather was the original Lone Ranger on radio.
Oh, wow.
Right. Yeah. So I'm sitting there and this guy is like explaining to me what radio really is. He said, oh, it's the theater of the mind, and
Mm-hmm.
even though your job is to go out and find advertisers, we're really like in entertainment. You know, people are, when you hear commercials or see commercials, you're being entertained to buy a product, you know.
Right.
So he hired me, which was kind of a shock to me. I was only again 2 weeks in, 2 weeks of experience. This guy hired me, and but that, like I said, night and day. Their staff was very professional. The training was very rigorous, and
Mm-hmm.
it really taught me about marketing, advertising, and what that really was. Um, the one thing about the station, though, is because Magic 1470 was more of an urban station, right? So they wanted me to go and talk to Black businesses, right? And then we
Mm,
had a sister station, which is 3WM, an adult contemporary station. They talked to everybody else. But what they would do is they would sell the stations together. They would sell Magic 1470 and 3WM. On the flip side of the coin, we couldn't do that. You know, the Magic 1470 people couldn't sell 3WM, you know.
mm,
And then they had clients, they had ad agencies for their clients. You know, so ad agencies came with more clients, that's more money, more commission, right? And we didn't have the Magic 1470 staff, we didn't have access to the ad agency, you know. So those are bigger budgets, more money coming in for it. Okay. So I kind of being the kind of person that I was, I went to my supervisor and I asked him, I said, so what do you need to, you know, how do you determine advertising agents? What do they do that's so different from anybody else? You know, he said, well, they have their own clients and they produce their own commercials. And
mm.
then we get the commercials and they get a discount. And that's their commission, the discount, right? Plus they charge for production and all that stuff, right? Which,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so I said, really? Is that it? You know, is that all? He said,
Mm-hmm.
find out how to do that, you know.
Simple, huh?
Yeah, I could find out what does it take to start doing commercials, you know. And at that time was I was like again was radio, but I came from a visual art photography,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I'm going like, okay. So the next step was from the audio to the photography to video. That's the next step. So how do we incorporate all this stuff and be able to produce commercials? Now, oddly enough, this was this was the thing. I'm about to tell somebody. I'm about to tell a secret. You don't necessarily have to be the one to do it.
Yeah,
You just got to find somebody who can do it for you.
yeah. It's
You
called
know,
delegation.
yeah. And
Delegate.
that's how I started. And I found, you know, people who can do it or even companies that can do it, you know, and then I would add my commission on top of that, you know. So that's how that came about. Learning how to, you know, kind of get with different companies that can do that. Um, the
So
one thing,
basically, so basically, what you have done is that you learned from the ground up. You didn't just come into a position already defined for you. You learned from photography, you learned through sales, you learned the logistics of what makes radio work, as well as moving over into the visual aspects with videos. So how did you get from that knowledge from working uh, as a salesperson for the radio station to where you are now? And just let's talk briefly about your media group.
okay. So that's a funny thing too, because actually the media group actually came out of okay, let me back up just a little bit. Um, again, when I worked in photography, I did a lot of, you know, I worked for a lot of different photography companies. So there's one company called Quality Photo,
Mm-hmm.
and they were doing, you know, the 1 hour. Remember 1 hour processing? You go take your film, and you come back an hour. You pick up your pictures. So Quality Photo was that kind of a company, and I worked for that company. This is after the radio station. Worked for
Mm-hmm.
that company, and then got out of that, was doing some other stuff. But how that tied into it was um, the guys that I knew that had that company was about to sell it. They were tired of doing the photo, 1 hour photo thing, and they asked me if I wanted to take it over. And
Mm.
of course, I said no.
Uh-huh.
I said no, I don't want to do this. But another friend of mine, I told him, I said, well, hey, those guys is about to close the photo lab. And
Mm.
he looked at me and said, really? We should get that. And I
Mm.
was, and I was like, why? And um, have you ever heard of the Toledo Mud Hens?
I have not.
Okay, you ever seen MASH?
Yes.
Okay, Klinger used to talk about the Toledo Mud Hens, which is a baseball team. And it's a real baseball team, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the farm team for the Detroit Tigers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the Mud Hens were moving downtown, which was not too far from that photo lab. Okay. So my friend talked me into going into business to do for 1 hour photo finishing because the Mud Hens was moving downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sound like a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Didn't pan out like that. Didn't didn't pan out like that at all. The people come downtown, go to the game, and then they'll leave. They wouldn't bring their film over, you know.
Mm. To be
So
processed.
yeah,
Yeah.
so and then digital photography was coming in. So the film industry was dying,
Mm.
basically. It was just, it was just dying. So what I did was I kind of thought about what can we do? What can we do with this business that's basically dying? It's on its last leg.
Mm-hmm.
So we pivoted, you know.
Mm.
And I said, well, this is what we're going to do. You got businesses are out here struggling, right? They need advertising because they need clientele, right? I still had connections with the radio stations. I made connections with some people that were at TV stations,
Mm.
and I still knew how to do the photography and graphic design and all that. So that business turned into Millennium Media Group.
Oh, okay.
That's what we did. We turned that business into the Millennium Media Group, and we were just going out and, talking to clients about, or, small businesses about advertising. Um, why should they work with Millennium Media other than like just going to a radio station directly, you know? And what we were talking about, and people use this term now, but back then they really wasn't using it, was branding.
Yeah. Very
Branding and
popular
being
now.
and
Yeah.
being consistent with your marketing, your advertising,
Yeah.
because you can go to a station and they'll make a commercial for you, but the station owns the commercial.
Yeah.
If you want to take it somewhere else, you would have to buy it. And most of those people didn't want to buy it. But if you just bought it right out, then you can do what you want with it. You can take it to any station you wanted to. And if you had a jingle or whatever, you can take that jingle wherever you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how Millennium Media Group came about. Now,
You were just at the right place at the right time, it seems, for you, which is really wonderful. And it is for other people, but you recognize the synchronicity and the timing of everything. You just stepped right in it and it just flowed, which was really good. And so from that, you were able to bring forth this wonderful company. Now let's talk about Millennium Group and what it does. I know you're a network
yeah,
and
yeah. So we still operate as an ad agency, right? We still do that. But when the pandemic hit, right, a lot of businesses couldn't be open. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it changed everything. And then out of that came technology like what we're using right now. Zooming and stuff. And then what it also did was streaming. It introduced streaming.
Oh yeah.
Right? The other thing that was going on in television is that you had these companies like Netflix, right? And they're streaming, content. And then here comes Roku, right? And Roku is a streaming network on TV. And then Roku did this. This is what changed the game with Roku for me, is when they embedded Roku into television. So then you have Roku TV, right? You first had the little Fire Stick, and you had the Roku sticks. So you had that kind of stuff. But then now you got Roku television, which
Yeah.
means, and they're like the number one streaming platform in America.
Hmm.
So now we're talking about being able to be on television in people's homes. So now you have to come up with a way to reach them. So you build apps, right? They have these apps, and you get developers to build your apps, and then you have to, you're developing a television network. That's what it really is. So
Yeah.
now the thing about that is this, and I remember when Oprah decided to have a network.
Mm-hmm.
What problem did she run into? She ran into a big problem.
Well, one thing that I heard about was basically having the name copyright her name on the show because it was someone else who was using but I don't know of anything else.
Well, the biggest problem she had was content.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
true. Yeah,
yeah,
there would be
because
gaps. There would
she
be
had
gaps.
Dr. Oz, she had what's the other guy, Dr. Phil, and
Mm-hmm.
she had but she had all these talk shows.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so a lot of people wasn't trying to look at that, so they wanted to see more. So then Tyler Perry basically made a deal with her to bring in more content. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so that's how she kind of that's how she kind of survived.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I even thought about developing networks and channels, I thought about content and where am I going to get content from?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought about now this becomes a way to provide opportunity, not only for me,
Mm-hmm.
but for people. I mean, just like what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
content developers, people that's doing
Yeah.
content. You know,
Yeah.
the first thing they want to do is they want to go to YouTube, right? Which is good, because now you got a YouTube channel, you're putting content out there. The thing is you still have to market it. People still have to find where you're at, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you get people to find you? You gotta have some form of marketing
Mm-hmm.
aspect with that, and then you have your sponsors. I love what you do because you're all about branding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're all
Yeah.
about branding. So that's a good thing. And then people want to tune in, and you're introducing them to other people, right? And you said 50 plus, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a good demographic.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good demographic, 50 plus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so now I'm gonna tell you something. You have some younger people looking at what you're doing because
Oh, I know. Out
yeah,
of curiosity, I know.
yeah,
So we're coming up on now. you would be the 76th episode. And I didn't think it would go this far. But I really love what you're doing in terms of your network. So let's talk about that. If a person would like to, because I know several content creators, people who have talk shows and who are doing different things. And so that's
Hmm.
what you're looking for your network. You're looking for
Right,
people who have established programs, podcasts, or whatever the platform is, and they're looking for a place to air to the general public, because I'm global and I'm sure that you are too. So
right,
what should a person do? That's very unique, because what you realize with Oprah, and it's when Oprah first started, it was like you could take a nap in between the good shows. There was just nothing on there, and people
right,
jumped on it because it was Oprah, but it's like she's missing content. She's missing content.
right.
So what you're doing, which is very smart, is that you're gathering people with different ideas to uh, embellish the network, and they bring different demographics too. So what?
Exactly.
So what are the steps for people who are podcasters, people who have a YouTube shows and whatever, and who would like to be part of your network? And name your network again.
Infused network,
Infuse Network.
infused
So,
network.
and you have uh, several different channels. You
Yeah,
have.
we have 7 channels right now, but we have the capabilities of have going up to 100 channels.
Hmm. So,
So,
so what are you looking for now in terms of people to, or types of programs to add to your lineup?
well, I love talk shows for one thing. I love people that can, talk on different issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a I have a guy that's in Atlanta, um, Be Real TV, right? I just added his a channel for him. I just added a channel for him. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a young guy. This is a young guy. This is a guy play they do hip hop and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of tell him though, when you get into that hip hop and stuff like that, it's some things that I don't want to see. I don't want to see weapons. I don't want to see drugs. I don't want to see, you know, you gotta, it's a business it's a business. So you have to
Mm-hmm.
think that way. Now, if you guys want to do all that other stuff, right? You can direct, like you can have Spotify or whatever.
Yeah.
They have their own outlets. You can play your clean stuff on us, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to direct people to your where they can download your other stuff, they can do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Smart. Yeah.
yeah, because it's business, right?
Yeah.
It's the music industry, the music business,
Mm-hmm.
right? But this guy is very smart. And he's in a good market. Atlanta's a good market.
Yeah.
It's a big
Yeah.
market, and I tell him, the best thing you can do is, and this is what I tell all of my people that I work with, is tell people where you can be found at,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because we want to grow the audience, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We also do digital billboard marketing. We do that, and we still do, like, radio and TV. So we might do ads outside of what we're doing to
Mm-hmm.
get people to see what we're doing. That's
Mm-hmm.
the best way to do it. I mean, that's what I was taught from. And when I say I was taught by the best, these people now that I work for, Midwest Broadcasting, is now Cumulus Broadcasting, which is one of the biggest radio networks in the world. So I learned everything I do is what I was taught to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people I didn't come up with this. I was taught to do this. You
Mm-hmm.
know, they said you need to market, you need to have some type of representation of whatever your media is outside of your media. That means if you're radio, you're on TV or billboard. If you're billboard, you're on TV or radio.
Mm.
And vice versa. If you have in your TV, you're on radio and billboard.
And that's cross marketing, which is really good. You
Right.
you're hitting all the different markets. But before we run out of time, I would like for people to know how to get in touch with you because this is really incredible. There are people out there in the 50 plus because they're on my podcast, but there are
Right.
people who will be looking to have something ongoing. And I
Yeah.
think that your avenue would be excellent. So how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah. The easiest way is we got kind of a long email address. It's Millennium Media Group at gmail.com.
Okay, spell it out for people.
Okay. MILLENNIUM. Then Media Group at gmail.com. The
Mhm,
first word is what you really got to get. MILLENNIUM.
mhm,
Media Group at gmail.com.
mhm.
Right? They can contact me at 419-514-1284. So that's 419-514-1284.
Okay.
Like that. Yeah.
So you're looking for, like I said, people who are content creators, influencers who may already have a, a little spot on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
and they're interested in expanding their market.
Yeah. I mean, it's a couple of ways that we really work with content creators. The one thing that we do is we do revenue sharing.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, it's a story. There was a guy that did he did a music video show locally. He actually just showed me a DVD. I took it over to our local CW station, and this is when I showed them the DVD, they offered us some time. Saturdays at 12 to 12:30, 13 weeks for $6,000. Okay. I went back to the guy. I said, I'm gonna get you on the CW 13 weeks for $6,000. And he looked at me and said, I don't have $6,000. I said, you don't need it. He said, what you mean I don't need it? I said, that thing sold me in 3 seconds. If that can sell me in 3 seconds, I can sell it.
Mm.
Right? Now I'm gonna say this. And I used to my mother, my mother was really somebody that I really was really close with. She passed not too long ago, but we used to
Wow.
talk all the time.
Hmm.
And I used to tell her about what drives everybody's company. And she was like, what's that, Virgilio? I said, OPM,
Other people's money.
other people's money.
Yeah, other people's money.
And once you learn OPM, other people's money, you can basically do anything. Now, I'm going to tell you something about OPM and how it really works. If you're a person, and so you have something that people will want to look at, right? So you
Hmm.
got eyeballs and ears,
Hmm.
right? So those eyeballs and ears, you can have OPM that's going to generate money for the people that wants to sponsor you. That's what OPM is all about. You know, you're providing eyeballs and ears, and they're paid for that.
Hmm.
And that's what I try to do. And I really try to help people, their businesses,
Yeah.
right? But they got to be willing to help themselves at the same time.
Hmm. Well, it sounds really, really interesting, and it sounds like it would be really, really positive for people because you're on Roku and people have Roku on their television, and then if they click on it, your channels will come up, but you
Right.
can if they tell people to do so. So that's a win-win for Roku as well as for the people who are coming to your network.
Right, right, because we also we shoot and we produce commercials, 15 seconds, 30-second spots. We can also produce shows ourselves. We can produce 30 minutes to an hour shows, and then kind of embed commercials in that, or put up a QR code that will go to somebody's website. So those are some of the things that, and this is all technology that we should take advantage of. Some people don't know how to do that, but that's why you have people like me.
I was supposed to say, that's why you're here, Virgilio, to show people how to do it, how to make it easier for themselves. They don't have to struggle and start from scratch. You have your own network. You're in place. You're just looking for people to bring clean, engaging content. And I love the fact that you said clean, because they have so many things out there that are despicable.
Yeah, and we're still working. I'm gonna tell you the truth. We're still working on that. It's hard, but you have to tell these people, once you see it, I'll go back because I had to monitor the station, right, the channels, and I'll go back and I say, hey, I seen this, so you need to go. And this, I said, tell them it's coming from the network. You don't have to necessarily be the bad guy. Put it on the network people. Network people say you can't hear that. So yeah, and it's you're working out the kinks, and then we have movies, we do have some movies. And yeah, so and we're working on licensing fees and all of that kind of stuff. So it's entailed, but it's fun.
Okay, so let's get a practical thing before we run out of time. We have about 12 minutes. So say, for instance, I come to you with my podcast and I said, okay, Virgilio, I'm interested in continuing to do my podcast on Facebook and those other platforms. However, I want to expand to be part of your network. So and the person, I would call you and set up an appointment, and then you could go into the details, the financial, because I guess there's a financial cost too. And so,
yeah, but right now, what I've been doing is I've been really giving the opportunity for people to make money before we get into that aspect of charging them. So what I do is this. Minimum, there could be a fee for bandwidth. Okay. And then the bandwidth, you just need to cover the bandwidth fee. That's it. Now, when you do your production, you could either do this. You could either embed commercials inside of your program. Okay. Or you can have donuts, which is like little blank spaces because everything's recorded. And so everything's recorded. You can have little blank spaces in there, and we can insert, edit and insert commercials inside of those blank spaces, right? That's all the technical stuff, right? The way to get involved is normally we just have a conversation like we're having right now, and I'll tell you that this is what I require, and I'll send you like an email with all the specs, and then you would in turn send that to your technical person, right? Because we would need like an MP4, right? It would be an MP4. Email it to our email either through a Dropbox or a file transfer website, right? Where we'll download it. We'll then upload it to our network, right? And then if you want specific times, that you want this aired, that's something that we will work out. And if that's any financial things that goes on with that, um, we will work that out. But normally what I do is I would just do a revenue split 50-50, basically. You know,
Did you get your revenue from advertisers? People come to you to advertise on your channel,
right.
your network. Okay.
Hmm. Now you can get your own advertisers, you can get your own sponsors,
Mm-hmm.
you can do that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and then, we just split revenue. If we get sponsors, right, again, on our side, we just split revenue.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. That's the easiest way to do it. That's why I go, that's the easiest way to do it. Because just because you have a program and I learned this because I'm a small business owner too,
Yeah.
right? Just because I have a business doesn't mean I have money. That means I'm trying to make money,
True.
you know? So I look at it like that. Um, and then like as you grow, right, the more eyeballs you're going to get, the more your spots are going to cost, right? And then if you think about it, we have other avenues outside of um, our network, which is we do billboards. Those are the digital billboards that flip.
Mhm.
We're partnered with a company that does that nationwide. So
Wow.
that's something that we do. Um, we also, iHeartMedia and Pandora and all of those networks. We're able to work with those networks. So that's when it comes out to the marketing, the branding, and all of that kind of stuff that you need to do. That's something that you can't overlook. You know,
Like,
you have to do that. Even every business should be doing that for themselves. They need to put a budget aside. 10% of what comes into the business. Put that aside so then they can do marketing, advertising, do their branding. You
mhm.
do merch. Merch is a fine way of advertising and marketing, and it's a fine way to generate money. So here you have it.
I think that what you're saying is so very powerful, and it's very good for people who are budding entrepreneurs and who desire to get their names out there in a very holistic way, in a way that has integrity, because there's some things out there that are not in your best interest, and people may be signing contracts just to get exposure, and they find out that they have given away everything without realizing it.
Right, because it's something people ask me about. What about when I produce the content? Do I own it or do you own it?
Mhm.
Right. That the ownership of the rights for the content stays with the creator.
Mhm.
The creator owns the content, you know. And of course, there's going to be some content creators are going to want to negotiate higher rates and stuff like that. But we just need to come to a happy medium.
Right, right, right. Well, I think this is amazing. We'll have a few more minutes. So what would you like to leave with our audience? I think this media proposition is really good. Do you have, well, if let's just say a flood of people that come to you because you have so many different channels, everyone is not going to be grouped into one channel. You have uh, glamour network, you have a sports network, you have a spiritual network. You have so many different, not networks, but channels. You have so
Right.
many different channels that it would be challenging for you to run out of space for people to air their podcast.
Right, because we can look at different demographics. We can set up a channel just for basic demographics, what they want to reach. You know,
Mhm.
that's one thing. Like, it's a guy here. He got this thing called 50 Ways Studios. I'm gonna give him a plug. 50 Ways Studios, and he does a lot of podcasting. You know, but most of his podcasting is like African Americans are doing the podcast. I'm looking at, okay, so who can I, as far as like outside marketing for him, what would I do? If I did radio, I would go to an urban station for him. But if I had somebody, if he did sports, now if he did sports, that could be across the board, you know, where I can go to a, a adult contemporary station, urban station, or whatever, because everybody likes sports. We can do billboards. We can, again, this is something, right, that people don't think about. They're still around, though, newspapers. You know, they're still around, you know,
Yeah.
and we can do things like that. I think, but the most thing that I will really want to get out of this conversation right now is that people go to, if they have a Roku television, right, go to the add, add apps, and when you go to add a channel and type in Infuse Network, or just type in, I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah.
See
Yeah.
that? Yeah. This, yeah. That's our network. So
Mhm.
that's just a little plug.
Yeah, no, all of this is about showing people about the wonderful offerings that your network has, these different channels. So if people are interested in having their content promoted, and I'm sure a lot of people are in the 50 plus age range and younger, you're providing an excellent opportunity for that to happen. And so everyone who's interested in what Virgilio has talked about with Millennium Media Group, please get in touch with him. I've not heard of anything like this before. I've just not have heard of it, where someone is coming to you at the grassroots level and giving you the opportunity to start your business or your podcast on his network and to work out a plan that's conducive for the two of you, as opposed to saying, okay, in order for us to have you on our network, you have to pay $10,000. That's prohibitive. So this is an excellent idea. I have never heard of anyone else with it, but remember the Oprah analogy? She opened up a network and she didn't have content, and I would have to start with her probably early in the morning and then leave her for 10 hours and come back because the in between content wasn't, it really wasn't good. And then, Tyler Perry brought some of his um, plays and movies over to help her. So before you jump, make sure you contact Virgilio to find out exactly how this is done, how this game is played. So you can be on the upside. You're on the rise. You're not on the decline. So you're finding out things through Great Lives on the Rise. So they're gonna have you go upward and excel and perform well and be very pleased. But Virgilia, thank you so much for your time. It has been a pleasure. You and I would talk about my podcast too. So, and the key thing for people to know is that you can still have your podcast on your platform and just add it to Virgilio's, because that's the question I had asked.
Oh yeah, you can keep whatever you're doing. You know, you own what your content. You know,
Oh,
and let me tell you, if people really want to find me really easy, Google my name, Virgilio Baker. Julio's out there.
yeah, it's very, very, very unique. But
Yeah,
thank you so much. You've been our media person, our media expert. We've not had anyone on to talk about it. So those of you who are, and plenty of people who have been guest hosts have podcasts. So it would be excellent for you to get in touch with Virgilio to see how he can promote you in your podcast so you can have a symbiotic relationship. But thank you, beloveds. Thank you so much for joining us again on Great Lives on the Rise. See? Network. So what I would like for you to do is tell everyone, your family, friends, co-workers about Great Lives on the Rise. We're on every Sunday from 7 to 8. Go to our website, Oyinde Enterprises, OYINDE Enterprises, ENTERPRISES.com. And then once you're there, you will see Great Lives on the Rise. Click on it. And if you're interested in becoming a guest speaker, fill out the information and we shall have a conversation. Okay? Until next time, be well, stay safe, and know that you are loved. Namaste, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Great Lives on the Rise, being brought to you by Jamila Scents, which is the product line of Oyinde Enterprises. Jamila Scents is a 100% natural aromatherapy line that heals the mind, body, and soul. This episode of Great Lives on the Rise was intended to uplift you, to inspire you, and to motivate you. Please tell all of your friends, family members, and anyone you know who's 50 plus, who's living a vibrant life and interested in doing more and enjoying life even to its fullest. So thank you, and please subscribe, like, and comment on this video and all our videos. Thank you, and until next time, until our next podcast, namaste and be well.